Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon with Taylorsfiresmoke Cooking. Welcome back into the kitchen. Today we have a pretty good one for you all. We're going to be doing some beef short ribs. Crosscut is what I call them. You may know them as flanking ribs, and we're going to be doing some sautéed cabbage. This is a really good, low-carb, delicious meal that you can make, and it doesn't take a long time. When you cut these short ribs thin like this, that you can get them cooked really, really quickly on the grill. So that's how we're going to do them. These short ribs take really, really good to a marinade, but I'm not going to do that today. We're just going to kind of grill them like steak. So I'm going to be using some fajita seasoning and some black pepper, and we're going to be going onto our grill, getting them done really quickly, and we're going to make a good meal for you guys. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, guys, so let's get started on this cabbage. So I'm using my electric skillet today. If you can use the stove if you don't have electric skillet. I just don't want to heat up the house as much. We're using a tablespoon of unsalted butter and just about a teaspoon or a little bit over a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. This is what we're going to saute our cabbage in, but we're going to start off with our vegetables first. So now that I got my butter melted down, we're just going to go in and throw in about a quarter cup of green pepper that I've sliced up. If you don't want to use green pepper, you can definitely omit this, but I do like green pepper and onion in my cabbage when we're sauteing it. Now we're going to go in with about a quarter cup or so of diced white onion as well. I had some white onion in the fridge already. That's why it's diced instead of sliced. So if you were wondering, that's the reason why. So I'm now going to do now is just cook my onions until it gets translucent. Then we're going to go ahead on and add in our cabbage. So it won't be too much long. Okay, guys, so we've cooked our onions for about another minute or so, and they begin to become translucent. So now we're going to go ahead on and put in my cabbage. And I sliced my cabbage fairly thin, not coleslaw thin, but pretty thin, and we did wash it. So if you like your cabbage a little thicker, you can do it thick or thinner. It's totally up to you. It's going to cook pretty much the same way, but I do like it cut up a little thinner. And what you want to do is you want to add in a layer of your cabbage first, and then go ahead and season that layer, and then we'll add the rest on top of that. Being that the skillet is not very big, you want to make sure that you kind of layer in the flavors to make sure that everything gets seasoned properly. So I went in with my complete seasoning, our garlic powder. We're using some little sea salt and some black pepper. Now this is just the start with our seasoning. You may have to add a little more down the road, but this is how we're going to start it off, and that salt is actually going to help bring some of that liquid out of the cabbage as well, to where we won't have to add any during our cook. We'll also be adding in some crushed red pepper flakes a little bit down the line. I do like a little heat to my cabbage, but if you don't, you do not have to add it. So all I'm going to do now is just mix up this batch or this layer of cabbage in the seasoning, and then I'm going to put the second layer right on top of this and kind of repeat the process. All right, fam, so I've got my cabbage going in our skillet right now with the lid on it, so it's good. We're going to go ahead on and get our short rib seasoned up right now. So again, we're just going to keep it really simple. We're going to be using some fajita seasoning and black pepper. Now I'm going to go ahead and go with my fajita seasoning first. And it's a nice layer of this seasoning. I'm kind of trying to watch my sodium intake a little bit. So I like using this because it does have sodium, but it's still going to give me a nice little flavor without adding a lot of salt. A ton of salt outside of the salt that's in this seasoning. And it does have some other stuff in it. It's similar to an adobo seasoning, but it has a little bit more spice in it, a little bit more pepper, in my opinion. Then we're going to go in with some regular coarse grind black pepper. I'm going to allow the seasoning to sit up and tack up a little bit, but we're going to flip them, and I'm going to season this side too. We're going to be cooking this on my gas grill. It's quick and easy. It's about 95 degrees out, so I'm not trying to heat up my house too much or spend a lot of time out in the heat if I don't have to. All right, guys, so we've allowed our cabbage to cook down for about 12 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and just give it a good little toss and mix and see how it's coming along. You want to kind of rotate your bottom up to the top and make sure that the top goes down to the bottom, just to ensure that everything is cooking evenly. Also at this point, we're going to add in some of our crushed red pepper flakes so it can begin to cook down and kind of incorporate with our cabbage as well. Again, if you are not a fan of heat or you don't want to add in the red pepper flakes, you could totally omit that and leave them out if you like. But like I said, we do like a little bit of heat in our cabbage and our greens as well, so I will be adding some to mine. Once we get it added in and mixed up a little bit, we're just going to go ahead and cover it back up and let it continue to cook for another 10 to 12 minutes. All right, so now we're going to go ahead in the interim while our cabbage is going. We're going to go ahead and get our short ribs started. I have my grill set at medium high, and we're just going to put them right on the grates here, and we're going to leave the lid up. I want to cook them, you know, on a fairly high heat and direct heat, and I do not want to close the lid at all because I just want to go ahead and cook them with the flame. I don't want them cooking, you know, with the lid down. It's almost creating like that oven. I do not want to do that. So we're going to be keeping the grill open, heat on high, and we'll be flipping them every so often to make sure that we don't have any flare-ups. I like having that flame kiss the meat a little bit to get that char grill flavor, and that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's go ahead and check our cabbage again, see how it's coming along, and we're also going to taste it at this point to make sure that our seasoning is good, or whether or not we have to add anything to it or take anything away. Also, if you wanted to add a little bit more liquid to your cabbage, you could add in some chicken broth or vegetable stock or something like that if your cabbage didn't produce enough liquid. Mine is perfectly fine to me, but if you like yours a little bit more wet, then you could definitely add in some broth to it if you'd like. We're just going to go ahead and give it a quick taste and see where we're at. And it's good. It's really good. I am going to add in just a touch more salt, then we'll be good to go. But we're good on our garlic and our crushed red pepper and our black pepper. Just a hint more salt and we'll be solid. I'll turn this bad boy off and we'll get out there and finish up our short ribs. All right, family, so let's check on these short ribs. We've had them going now for about 3 minutes. You can see they're picking up some nice color. We've had a couple of flare-ups, but nothing major. That's what you want, because you do want that flame kissing that meat a little bit. And all we're doing is just kind of rendering the fat and making these bad boys tender. That's the key to getting these tender, is making sure that you render that fat. With them being cut this thin, it doesn't take very long at all, but you will need to get that fat rendered in order to have a tender short rib. Also, you'll know these bad boys are done when the bones in them begin to protrude out of the side of the short rib. If you don't see that happening, then you still need a little ways to go to cook them. And here's a bird's eye view of what we got going on. You can see it's taking on some nice color, some nice grill marks, and they're smelling fire. All right, guys, so here's our short ribs. We've cooked them for a total of about 8 to 9 minutes, just flipping them back and forth. And you can see how the bones are starting to protrude out of the side of the short rib like I was telling you about. That lets you know that they're good and ready to be pulled off of this grill. And that's what we're going to do now. There are a couple of them that still got a little ways to go just to get them to where we want them. But they're cooked perfectly, nice and juicy, tender, and going to be so good. So I'll see you guys back in the house with a made plate. See you in a minute. All right, guys, so here's our finished plate, our finished product. I did wind up making a little jasmine rice. You don't know, I'm gonna put you on something. Using that everything bagel seasoning on your rice is amazing. You guys should give it a try. You can see our sauteed cabbage here. We use no meat in that, just seasonings, onions, green peppers, butter, extra virgin olive oil, and cooked it down. And then we have our short ribs that we grilled, looking amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and get a quick bite for you guys, and then we'll send you on your way. Looks so good, smells good. Let me go ahead and pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus. Thank you for the truth. All right, go ahead and try this cabbage first. Now you can cook your cabbage down to however you like. If you like it a little more al dente, I like mine cooked down quite a bit, so mine is nice and tender. Nice and sweet. You know, cabbage is already sweet to me. I know there are a lot of people that puts sugar in cabbage, to me that's a no-no. You don't need to. Season it up, put a little red pepper flakes for heat, you good to go. All right. Let's go ahead and get a bite of this short rib. Bone pulls right on out. Excuse me. Amazing. Man, it is so good. And again, with them being so thin, you can just cook them and that fat will render out a lot faster than with it being whole, so it doesn't take a long time at all. Took us about 7-8 minutes, just flipping them, rotating them to hot spots. Good. Look at that. So good, y'all. So I hope you guys enjoyed the recipe. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Till the next time, God bless, and see you around.